Hi, welcome back. I am glad that you have joined me for another Zentangle lesson. So you'll see that today we're going to be using a black tile, a white jelly roll. This one happens to be an 05. We need a white chalk pencil because obviously a regular lead pencil is not going to work on a black tile. And we have a tortillon that is designated for white. Whenever I use a new color chalk pencil, I get a new tortillon and write on the bottom what color it is. Sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it's not, because you certainly don't want to be blending with a stump that's been used for another color. So to make our Zentangle tile today, we are going to be using Huggins, Veruca, and Mucha. So let me quickly show you how these go if you're not familiar with them. So Mucha starts at the bottom. This is the outside. So we're curving. Right now, it's kind of like an elongated C. We're not going to stop. We're going to pick up the pen, keep it going around as if we're putting a ball, but we stop. See how there's this space? We don't quite connect it. We have to stop when it gets close. And then we aura back down the initial stroke. Very thin aura. So let's try that again. If we were going in the opposite direction, we start at the bottom. This is the outside, so I know I'm going to keep swinging, make my ball, stop, and aura. Now these would not be floating. They're going to be grounded to something. So initially, Mucha was probably my least favorite tangle. And I will tell you that the more you do it, the more smooth it becomes. And it's now actually my mac and cheese. That is my comfort tangle. Okay, now let's look at Veruca. So Veruca starts as just a line. It could be curved if you want, that doesn't matter. But then whether it's straight or curved, you're going to add the aura to it. So now it's a stem. Veruca is an organic tangle. It's a flower. We're then going to put a frown. You might be familiar with that if you've learned poke root or poke leaf. But we're going to let it come around at the bottom, touching the stem. It, of course, does not go through the stem because then we would be breaking the rule of Hollibaugh. Now we're going to give it a little aura. And then coming up from the stem, I'm going to put, it almost looks a little like a flux shape, but right now you might think without the ring, maybe it looks like a Q-tip, maybe it looks like a very thin pacifier, however you want to think of this. So that's a whole shape, but now we're going to do what would be half of it because part of it is hiding behind the one that we've already drawn. And we keep coming in. We could stop here if we want, or keep coming in, keep coming in. And what it's going to wind up doing is it's going to wind up looking like you're looking from the underside of the flower. And these that are smaller look like the bottoms of the ones that are hiding behind. So just like that, we become very impressively the artist. Now with Veruca, you can of course add embellishments in these, or you can leave it the way it is. We'll see what we're going to do when we get to the tile. And then we have Huggins. Huggins starts, excuse me, Huggins starts as it is a graph tangle, a grid tangle, but instead of lines for the grid, Huggins uses a dot grid. I don't know if when you were younger you ever played the dot game, but it certainly reminds me of that when I set it up. So I'm still setting it up in rows and in columns to the best of my ability. I'm not going to worry too much. Zentangle is about not worrying. Okay, so now I only look at 2 dots at a time. So for these 2 dots, I am going to start it with an elongated C shape. Okay? Then you do the opposite of that, the mirror of that on the other side. Now when we move to these 2 dots, I would go back to where I started. So it's a pattern. You do a C and then a mirror C. So then we do a C. And if we had 2 more dots out here, it would be a mirror C. Okay. Then we do the opposite to that underneath. So here I'm going to start with the mirror of the C, and then a C, and then a mirror of the C. Now you can leave your tile this way, or you can turn the tile. I'm going to leave it. So here I did a C, and then actually I'm going to turn it. So we have our C, and then we have our mirrored C. So here I'm going to do the same thing. C, and then mirrored C, and then C. Now I have to go the opposite. So it's mirrored C, C, mirrored C. We're going to talk about this a little bit more when we actually do it on our tile, but this is what Huggins looks like. It also frequently has auras in the part that I like to call the waist. If you look at just one of these, the one that I have here, I like to think of this as the shoulders, this as the waist, and then this as your rocking feet. So when I turn, no matter what I have, here's my shoulders, here's my feet, and I aura very thin, I aura the waist. Again, shoulders, rocking feet, and the waist, because it comes in like the waist of your body. And the same on the last one. It's kind of amazing how much just that simple effort of auraing really adds to your tangle. Okay, so those are our 3 tangles, and we are ready to go. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do for our tile is we do like to date it. And today is the, oh goodness, I'm not even sure what today is. We'll just make it the 29th. That might be right. It might not be. And I know that the tangles that I'm going to be using are Huggins, Veruca, and Muka. Sometimes I wait until I'm finished my tile to do this part, but just thought I would do it today. If you are using a gel pen like I am, you'll notice that you really have to use a much lighter touch. Gel pens are very special pens, and they do tend to work better if you're using a lighter touch. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to start. I want to have a row of Huggins down here. So I could measure it. You know, I could say, well, let's say that this is roughly middle. And so then I can either divide in half, but then I'm only getting 4 Huggins pieces, or I could go into thirds It really doesn't matter what you decide to do, but I think, well, let me put my end ones too. Let's not run out of space for those. So I think for our purposes, I'm going to get 2 more in each one. You know, we try to make them as evenly spaced as we can, but certainly mine aren't perfect and I'm not going to worry about it. So the next thing that I want to do though is I have to do, now I turned my tile so that I could see this more easily. If I keep it this way, then I'm drawing, my hand is actually in the way of my drawing. It doesn't look like it on the camera, but it really is. So I'm going to turn it the other way so that I can very easily see these. I'm going to pick my width and I'm going to try to line up again as best as I can, but not worrying about it. So I want to be lined up this way and I want to try to keep my line going across as roughly straight as I can. Now, if we were using a regular tile, we could use a pencil. We could draw a very light pencil line that would wind up going away. But on the black tile, that's not as easy to do. And even though we have our white chalk pencil, the white chalk line does not disappear in the same way that the lead line does. Okay, I'm actually going to leave my tile this way just because I think it's easier for my purposes, but you can certainly change your tile back to the way that you have it. So I am going to start, and it doesn't matter if you start with the C or the mirrored C, it really doesn't matter. Let's see, mirrored C, C, it's not going to matter for me either way. All right, so I'm going to start with the mirrored C, and then I alternate to the C. And notice how it's not coming straight down. I really want to give it a nice curved waist. Now I've done my 2, so now I repeat. I go back to the first one, which is a mirrored C. Notice how I trace over part of the circle that I'm leaving and part of the one that I'm landing on. Let's not get confused. Mirrored C, C, mirrored C, C, mirrored C, C, mirrored C. Ran a little bit out of room there, so I did choose to just squeeze it in. Okay, now instead of turning my tile, what I want you to start to see is the waist. So see how here's my waist, and then here's a set with the waist, and then here's a set with the waist, and then this is just the left side of the waist. It's not a full one. So once you see that you have a waist, then you know that you're going to do shoulders and you're going to do the rolly feet. And then I do the same thing on the next one. Shoulders, feet, shoulders, feet. And this one I'm not going to start because I'm not going to be able to finish it. So I'm just going to leave it there. Now, when we now turn our tile and we're looking at the empty spaces, see, we want to be able to connect these. Just like in our example, they were all connected. We want to connect these. So if I look at this empty space, I can see that I actually, this now, even though it was the waist when I looked at it this way, if I rotate it, it's now the shoulders. And here's the feet. So all I have to do is add the waist. So the challenge of Huggins is knowing when you do this, am I doing a elongated C or am I doing the mirrored C? So if I did a regular C, and I'm actually drawing it in air just so I can visualize it before I put the pen down. If I draw the regular C, then I'm going to have 3 of those in a row going down, and I don't want that. I'm supposed to be alternating. So you could think about it that way, or you can use my analogy to a waist. Because this way I can follow that same pattern. C, elongated, C, elongated, mirrored, C. And so that means here's going to be a mirror. I could do the same here. Mirror, C, mirror, C, mirror, C. It almost sounds like mercy. Okay, and there you have it. So this way we have a lineup of Huggins. If you want, you can just leave it like this, even though this side is not ending in the same way as this side, or you could draw the parts. I'll even do that this time. You can draw as much as you would see. See how that's the rest of this? And then for here, it would be, this is the left side of the waist. So I have part of my shoulders and I have part of my feet. Okay, so you can either add that or not. That's up to you. And for now, I am not going to add the inner oars. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. Okay, so now let's add a verruca to this. So you can come off of any part of this that you want. That's really up to you. I am just going to take it from one of the concave. I'm going to look at this piece of a Huggins as if it's a basket. And so I'm going to pick a place to shoot off from, and I'm going to actually curve my stem just a little bit. So we make the first line or curve, and then we do its aura. Then, if you remember, we're going to do a frown that comes around and touches the stem. And then we do its aura. Now, sometimes with the jelly roll, you do have to go back over the line. I'm going to struggle a little bit more because I can't hold my pen as straight up as I'd like to because of the camera. Okay, so now, don't want to see, that's the problem. I don't want to be in the camera view. So now we take that initial middle shape, and that's a whole one. And then we start working to the right, doing partials. Notice I'm starting from the top, and each time I move down just a little bit more. Just a little bit. And that's how eventually they get smaller. So that's half. Now I can go over to the left side. Don't have to worry about how many were there and how many are here. Remember, Zentangle is about not worrying, not stressing. We trust the process and we just keep going. All right, now let's add another one, and we're going to make this one have a little bit of a different shape.